Hello, learner. Welcome to Mr. Quakers Teaches. I'm Mr. Quakers. Now, in this lesson, I'll be providing a detailed analysis of Thomas Love Peacock's poem, Rich and Poor, or Saint and Sinner. Now, this analysis is part of a course in which I've analyzed all the 15 poems in the GCSE stroke IGCSE anthology. So usually they give a set of 15 poems, and I've analyzed all of them. Now, the course also contains predicted IGCSE questions for all the poems. So, for example, if you're preparing for it, you listen to the analysis and you want to try your hands to see how well you can do. You can, try your hands on those predicted questions. Now, additionally, the course also contains A-star quality or grade 9, grade 8 A quality essays as well that you can mimic, and see what you should present in the introduction, for example, the body of your essay, and also the conclusion, because sometimes students are able to listen to the analysis or have an analysis, but then they are unable to write essays that meet the grade that they are hoping to achieve. And you can get access to the course for only £5 a month in subscription. Now, additionally, you can buy the entirety of the course for £45 a year. That means you get to save £15 in subscription. That's 3 months essentially in subscription, and you get access to it for the entirety of the year. Now, additionally, if you need help as well for tuition for the other components, so here we have the poetry, but then you need help with the prose, the drama, the unseen paper as well. We also offer tuition services as well. We also offer tuition services in other subjects, so in the humanities like English language, geography, history, sociology, and then the sciences, math. We also have teachers as well that can help you if you need assistance in that regard. Now, additionally, if you need help as well in essay writing, you are just struggling with the essays and you just need help with the essays, you can join, like I said, our group sessions, tuition sessions for the the literature bit, English literature bit, or you can also reach out to me on Mr. Q at mrquakersteaches.com. So that's Mr. Q at mrquakersteaches.com. Additionally, you can get access to all of these things I've said in the description part of this if you're finding it in any of our social media handles. Let's begin our analysis. First, let's speak about the poet. So, Thomas Love Peacock was born in 1785 and then he died in 1866. He was an accomplished poet, essayist, opera critic, and satiric novelist. Now, during his lifetime, his works received the approbation of other writers, some of whom were Peacock's friends and the targets of his satire. So, satire means he made fun of people, made people laugh. Now, if you look at it there, he wrote a litany of novels, about 7 novels, and these are some of the titles there. Peacock's novels have lost none of their appeal, however, from the subjects that they address. For the subjects that they address continue to inform the political and social dialogue. So essentially, the things he wrote previously are not dated. They are things that are relevant even in today's culture and times. Now, the poem actually is 40 lines in total, right? So, but I've broken it down so that it can look a bit, bulky. But when I speak about the form and the structure of the poem in the later portions, you see that I've sort of made it a bit smaller so that they can all appear on one slide. In terms of the summary of the poem essentially is about this speaker who is speaking possibly to the reader, because we don't see him, speaking generally. There's a sense that he's speaking to the reader when I read the poem, but he's speaking about how the rich and the poor are treated because of their wealth, even though they carry out similar actions. So wealth sort of blinds people to the wrongs that the rich do, but then it's sort of poverty, as it were, makes people have like a 2020 vision about the wrong things that the poor is doing. So I think he's just talking essentially about how poverty and wealth causes inequality in how people are treated. Let me start the analysis by reading the poem. Thomas Love Peacock's Rich and Poor, or Saint and Sinner. The poor man's sins are glaring. in the face of ghostly warning, he is caught in the fact of an overt act, buying greens on Sunday morning. The rich man's sins are hidden in the pomp of wealth and station, and escape the sight of the children of light, who are wise in their generation. The rich man has a kitchen and cooks to dress his dinner. The poor who would roast to the baker must post, and thus become a sinner. The rich man has a cellar and a ready butler by him. The poor must stare for a pint of beer, where the saints can't choose but spy on him. The rich man's painted windows hide the concerts of the quality. The poor can but share a cracked fiddle in the air, which offends all sound morality. The rich man is invisible in the crowd of his gay society, but the poor man's delight is a sore in the sight, and stench in the nose of piety. The rich man has a carriage where no rude eye can flout. The poor man's bane is the third-class train, with the daylight all about him. The rich man goes out yachting where sanctity can't pursue him. The poor goes afloat in the four-penny boats where the bishops groan to view him. Now, let's see, breaking down of each of the stanzas, essentially what Peacock is saying. In the first stanza, he talks about the first subject or the first focus of the poem, and he refers to this person as the poor man. Now, observe that in the first stanza, in terms of the theme that is highlighted by the speaker, is the theme of sin. So, how is sin sin? And the sin here is what people do on Sunday mornings. Now, the subject or the word, the poor man, is a gender-neutral reference to everyone that lacks sufficient money to live at a standard considered comfortable or normal in society. That's essentially what the poor man is. So it's not that the speaker is speaking about only men, but I think he's just talking about poor people in general, poor men and poor women. Now, poor here is used as an identity. So it's like an identity that means that a person's financial state and possession supersedes all other details about their lives and is central to identifying them. So it is not a person's nationality, where the person is born, or any other thing that is like the key identity with which a person is looked at. Instead, it is the person's financial state and possession. Sins inject religious overtones in the poem. So it tells us here that this is religious, has like a religious sensitivity to it. And I think it's because of the times, towards the Elizabethan and Victorian era, there was this a lot of focus on religiosity. In fact, from just before the Enlightenment, we saw a lot of religious fervor, for example, in Europe. I think that is why the speaker is speaking about sin as the first thing. So it tells us about the Judeo-Christian nature and focus of the people. Now, Paul overtones of the poem and highlights that the poor persona's actions breaks the commands of God. So essentially, the person's action is breaking the commands that God has laid, while our glaring suggests that it is highly obvious and conspicuous. So the poor person's actions is something that is conspicuous and attracts people's attentions, possibly his neighbors, who, we would imagine live maybe more holy or sinless lives. That essentially is what we see in the opening line of the poem. Now, in the first of ghostly warning is a reference to the exaggerated religiosity and fervor that is displayed by the busybodies who point out the poor man's sin. So it tells you that people are looking at it ghostly, like, oh, they are shocked. They are, what is this? Like, why is this happening? Kind of, that's shock. Why is he doing this? And what is the sin? We are told that the poor man, he is caught in the facts. So that's an idiomatic expression. That means he's like he's caught red-handed. That essentially is like the idea that is being presented. And he also suggests that it's a criminal act. What the person is doing is a criminal act. The poor man's action is a criminal act. While of an overt act reveals that the sin is done in the open. So it's not something that is hidden. The person is living their normal lives in the open, but people see it and then say, no, you are committing a sin. And you're doing it, openly. In the last line of the first stanza, we see or we witness the sin that has caused such, noise. we're told that he's buying greens. So buying greens or vegetables likely because he does not have the resources to buy them in bulk. So he buys them presumably when he needs them. But when is he buying them? On Sunday morning. So Sunday morning is a time set aside for worship, usually in church, which means that he's desecrating the Sabbath. That essentially is what we see. If you read one of like the most shocking stories in literature, what we see in during the Salem trials, where people were actually killed, or there was suggestion that they were witches because they were absent for church to church on certain days. So that is like the idea that we see here. So he's buying greens on Sunday. So the crucible, yes, Aphamilas, the crucible. If you read that, you see this point that is being made. Now, then the next or the second stanza, again, the theme is sin. But this time, the subject is different. The rich man. Again, the rich man is gender neutral term for anybody, man or woman that is wealthy, bourgeois, aristocrat, somebody of that, status. Rich is also used here as an identity. So that means that the person's financial state and possession supersedes all other details of their life and is central to identifying them. So essentially, society is broken not into the caste system like what we see in India, but then into rich people and poor people. Now, we are told here that the rich man's sins are hidden, but the poor man's is glaring. So you see the use of juxtaposition. So sins are hidden tells that the poor man, like the poor man, they too, that's the rich people, break the commands of God, but their sins are concealed from the public. Why is it concealed? It is concealed in the pomp of wealth and station. So that is an allusion to the splendor and prosperity and high status in society. That's their high status. These are wealthy people. These are people who are, prosperous, rich. And escape the sight of the children of light tells that those who benefit from the rich man turn a blind eye. So if who are wise in their generation, when you see that bit about who are wise in their generation, it's an allusion to the people being, shrewd. But I'll come down to in a bit. So, and escape the sight of the children of light tells that those who benefit from the rich man turn a blind eye to his sin, so that he will remain their benefactor. In fact, when you read Luke chapter 16 verse 8, that's the point that is made. So that's that bit about the children of light. So enlightened authority, see Luke 16:8. For the children of this world are in their generation wiser than the children of light. So what do? When somebody does something wrong, because the person is wealthy, they make deals with the person. The person essentially becomes a benefactor, somebody who takes good care of them or bribes them essentially. Who are wise in their generation is an allusion to their shrewdness. So these same people who sort of make a lot of noise about the poor man, buying greens on Sunday, they become very tactful and shrewd when it comes to the rich man. They do not make a fuss. Now, forgive me that I've reduced like the width or the size of the lettering, but I just wanted the entirety of the poem to appear on the page. Now, in terms of the themes of the poem, you see the theme of class system, inequality in society, the unfair treatment of the poor when compared to the rich, the magnification of the poor man's wrongs versus the downplaying of the rich man's wrongs, and the idiomatic expression, different strokes for different folks. So those are like some of like the themes that we see in the poem. What other theme do you see? You can leave it in the comments field. Now, in terms of the tone of the poem, we see the tone of shock. It's also very revealing, and then there's this sense that the speaker is irritated by what's happening, or sense of irritation, among other tones that we see as well. Now, in terms of the point of view of the poem is recounted with a blend of the second person point of view and the third person. But for me, I think it's mostly second person, because it appears that the speaker is speaking directly to the reader, not to anybody, but it's just sort of complaining about. I think that's one of the key tones as well, about how the poor people are treated versus how the rich people are treated. In terms of the form and structure of the poem, please, if you're looking to get either a grade 9 or an A star, A or grade 8 in the GCSE as in your essays, please, you have to speak about the form and structure of the poem. For this poem, the poem has an A, rhyme scheme. That's for stanza 1. Glaring, warning, fact, act, morning. But then stanzas 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 have, a slightly different rhyme scheme. That's an AB, CCB rhyme scheme. So we see hidden, then station, site, light, generation, and you're going to see that in the rest of them. So there's a slight different rhyme scheme in the opening stanza, but then the rest of the stanzas 2 to 8, has like a similar rhyme scheme. Now, the poem, in terms of the rhyme scheme again, furthermore, I think that the speaker uses this rhyme scheme that is quite predictable in many regards to give the poem musicality and make it easy for the reader to memorize. And I think he also does it because he wants the reader not to forget what the complaints that he has about how society treats the rich versus how they treat the poor for the same action. So inequality before the law and whatnot. Now, in terms of the structure again, the poem is 40 lines in total, broken into 8 quintet stanzas. So that's 5-line stanzas. And one of the things I observed is that from the stanza 2 downwards, the second line, paragraph, the second line of each of the stanzas, appears to have a semicolon at the end of it. And I think it's because in the first 2 lines of each of the stanzas, so stanza 2 to stanza 8, they are speaking about the rich person, and then stanza 3 to stanza, line 1 to line 2 of each of the stanzas, they are speaking about the rich man. But then line 3 and line 4, line 3, line 4, and then line 5, they are talking about the actions of the poor and how the kind of reaction that it receives from greater society. Now, also the use of this very lengthy rhyme scheme, so many stanzas, 8 stanzas, creates the impression that the speaker wants to make a long list of what he considers the many unfair treatments of the poor, while mostly turning a blind eye to the same from the rich. So I think he wants to list multiple things, how they turn a blind eye about how the rich buys things on Sunday when it comes to their food, comes to their drinking, comes to their entertainment, happiness, travel, yachting, so everything. The speaker also employs enjambment as well. So we see that multiple times in the poem, in the flow of words from one line to the next, which shows an openness to reveal more details to the reader. So that is essentially about the form and structure of the poem. So here you have it, Thomas Love Peacock's Rich and Poor, or Saint and Sinner, has been made simple. Like I mentioned in the introductory portions of the analysis, this is part of a course in which I've analyzed all the 15 poems, right? The course contains predicted GCSE or IGCSE questions. It also contains sample A style grade 9 essays that you can mimic and try to see if you can learn how to replicate as you write your essays, what you should do in introduction, what you should do in the body, how you should use conjunctions as well, what you should do in the conclusions. Again, you see them in the sample essays that are part of the course. Now, additionally, we also provide tuition as well in the other subjects, English, language, history, geography, sociology, math, the sciences. We have teachers who can help you gain confidence and make sure that you achieve your aim, in the exams. Now, additionally, if you want to reach out to me directly, you can do me an email at mrq@mrquakersteaches.com. So mrq@mrquakersteaches.com, or you can leave a comment or a question or whatever in the comments field of any of my social media handles, and I'll reach out to you. Additionally, you can also send me an email at mrquakersteaches@gmail.com. That's mrquakersteaches@gmail.com, and I'll reach out to you and then see how best I can help you. Thank you for joining the lesson. Until the next time, bye-bye from me.